So let's begin. We'll walk through the topic Decoding New CSCRF Cybersecurity Cyber Resilience Framework for SEBI regulated entities. This was a comprehensive framework being introduced on August 2024. So this is the agenda. About us: introduction, commencement, applicability, approach and structuring, framework overview, snapshot of key compliance requirements, how to prepare, annexures list. We'll quickly move on to the next slide. So we are certain and paneled and ISO 27001 certified organization established in January 2018. We truly believe in simplifying complex scenarios in the domain of cybersecurity, data governance and protection, IT audit assurance, and compliance management. We share our diverse and dynamic expertise with different clienteles globally, MSMEs, SMEs, and enterprises. Quickly moving towards the introduction of this framework. This framework is actually to strengthen and ensure adequate cyber resiliency against cybersecurity incident and attacks. It is designed to adopt evolving changes, enabling SEBI regulated entities to proactively address and mitigate cybersecurity risks. Above all, the most important factor is this framework shall supersede existing SEBI cybersecurity circulars, guidelines, advisories, letters to ensure the need for uniformity of cybersecurity guidelines. Let's talk about how it has been evolved. So early initiatives in 2015 by SEBI, there was cybersecurity guidelines for MIIs. SEBI had issued other CSCRF inlines with MIIs such as stockbrokers, MFs, AMCs, KRAs, and QRTAs. Steps taken in 2020 and much more, they have been developing CSCRF to address evolving cyber threats. SEBI has also issued timely advisories to REs on cybersecurity best practices. Now, they have decided to come up with the unified framework in 2024, which hence evolved with the practice of the CSCRF for all SEBI REs to ensure adequate cyber resiliency against cybersecurity incident attacks. Commencement. So the framework shall be applicable to following REs. You can see over the left, there are the listings of the REs, and on the right, the commencement period, considering the REs where cybersecurity and cyber resilience already exist. So implementation would be by the period of January 1st, 2025. For the REs where CSCRF is being issued for the first time, they have given the leverage of implementing the CSCRF guidelines by April 1st, 2025. So I have just elaborated on the right bottom of the corner of the slide the list of entities that need to comply by January 1st, 2025 for the detailed reference. Now we'll talk about the audit timelines. So under the CSCRF framework, we have three criteria of the audit, ISO audit. So we'll talk about we have divided the REs and their reporting authorities considering the timelines of that particular standard. For the ISO, we have the stockbrokers, depository participants. They need to report their audit reports to the stock exchanges and depositories within 1 year of issuance of CSCRF. MIIs and the rest of qualified REs, they need to report it to SEBI. For the VAPT audit report submission and closure timelines, the regulated entities for the stockbrokers and depository participants, their reporting authority would be stock exchanges and depositories. And at least twice for REs, they have been identified as critical infrastructure by NCI IPC. So once VAPT activity shall be completed, all the report submission, closure, and revalidations, they need to be included in this period, April to September or October to March, twice a year. For the cyber audit, for the MIIs and qualified REs, they need to verify the compliance with the CSCRF. Cyber audit, on-site inspection, audit conducted by SEBI or any agency appointed by SEBI. So the periodicity would be MIIs and qualified REs, they need to be conducting this audit semi-annual. And for the mid-size REs and small-size REs, would be semi-annual, and for the other rest of the REs, it would be annual. In the below table, I have mentioned the activities considering this audit and their timelines. Moving on to the next slide, we'll talk about the approach of this framework. So the framework follows a graded approach, considering the classification of the REs based on the thresholds like number of clients, trade volumes, asset under management. So as you can see, we have mentioned here like market infrastructure institutions, qualified REs, mid-size REs, small-size REs, self-certification REs. So considering this, we have defined the applicability and the bifurcation, entity-wise categorization, considering the threshold values that we have discussed in the previous slide. For the entities, you can see in the second column, we have mentioned the criteria here for the different set of the categories. For self-certification REs under alternative investment fund, we have mentioned the categories here like small size, mid size, qualified REs, and self-certification REs. Similarly, we have different entities mentioned in the table. This is continuation because we have bifurcated the entities. We have mentioned also the exclusions here, considering the applicability of this framework. So debenture trustees, foreign portfolio investors, foreign venture capital investors, investment advisors, research analysts, limited purpose clearing corporations, qualified depository participants, real estate investment trust, registrar to an issue, and share transfer agents, vault managers. So all these exclusions we have kept in the slide to ensure the clear depiction of the applicability and the exclusions. Now let's talk about the structure of the framework, because framework is divided into 4 parts, considering the objective and the standards being followed in this framework, guidelines on how to achieve a particular outcome or meet certain objectives, and implement respective standards, various compliance formats for submission of CSCRF compliance formats, and the annexures and references, considering the guidelines, how these needs to be implemented. Let's talk more in detail in the upcoming slides. Let's talk about objective first. So CSCRF is built on 2 primary approaches: cybersecurity, operations, resilience, that covers anticipating, withstanding, recovering from, and evolving. They have the 5 phases in response to the cyber threats. And in conjunction with, we have the different cybersecurity functions: governance, identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. So under these 2 primary approaches, they have merged the different compliance formats. The objective is to govern the function with established clear cybersecurity roles, responsibilities, and accountability mechanisms, and continuously improving the cybersecurity risk management strategies. CCI, Cyber Capability Index. This is the index. This is required to qualify the REs, considering the regular assessments based on this. Protection measures, including implement robust authentication policies, network segmentation, encryption, and ensuring compliance with third-party service regulations. Audits, as we have already talked about, VAPT would be biannual, and ISO 27001 certification would be annual, and it is depending upon the type of REs, the categorization of REs. It is mandatory for MIIs and qualified REs. Cyber audit for compliance with this framework to be undertaken biannually, and MIIs and specified REs annual for others. Most importantly, we need to ensure that SOC monitoring, continuous security monitoring through SOC, is required with biannual efficacy assessments for MIIs and qualified REs. So we are talking about for the MIIs and REs in this slide, qualified REs in this slide. Incident response. To handle cyber incidents effectively, REs must develop incident response management plans, including cyber crisis management plans, and root cause analysis, recovery plans, future readiness. We'll talk more about it, and we have the annexures available in the upcoming slides for these. So this is a snapshot of key compliance requirements. As I have mentioned, the framework based on the approach that is mapping actually the cyber resilience goal and the cybersecurity function together, they combine and they create the compliance requirements. And we conduct, we as an auditor consider that these are the compliance requirements that need to be followed for the applicable regulated entities. So first we'll talk about the anticipate. Anticipate, it maintains a state of informed preparedness to hinder compromises of the business operations from adversary attacks. So it is actually mapped with the governance, identify, protect, and detect cybersecurity function, creating the compliance requirement that the roles and responsibilities under the cybersecurity accountability must be clear. Risk management framework must be established considering the risk assessments and the type of risks and the mitigation strategies associated to it. Cyber capability index, certain 23 parameters are used under this cyber capability index to ensure that the regulated entities who are complying to it, they are actually falling under that weightage criteria for the cyber capability index. Third party accountability, critical systems identification, that actually covers under the identify cybersecurity function. We need to identify the critical systems within the RE scope. Protect is to access restrictions, audits, and VAPT, ISO 27001 certification, because it is talking about the protection. So the access restrictions, audits, VAPT, cyber audits, certification, that comes under the protect cybersecurity function. For the detect, we need to ensure that the SOC implementation is there. Setting up of market SOCs, it is mandatory for the MIAs and the qualified Rs. Snapshot of the key compliance requirements. So it is continuing with the withstand and contain cyber resiliency goal. Withstand actually ensures business is up and running despite of successful execution of an attack by an adversary. And contain, it means isolating trusted systems from untrusted systems to continue essential business operations. For this, we have mapped this with the respond. For the respond, we must ensure the compliance requirements are fulfilled under incident management, incident handling, incident reporting, and initiatives of the certain. For the recover part, we need to ensure that restoring the functions to minimize adverse impacts as per the disaster recovery plan. We must ensure that the recovery plan must be ready for any cyber attack to happen. Adapt. For the adapt part, we must ensure that the continual improvement under the evolving cybersecurity functions, it has been actually improvising with the current technologies and trends. Now let's talk about certain mandates for the cybersecurity, cyber resilience goals and the cybersecurity functions. So for the governance and identify mandates, we need to ensure like communicating and enforcing cybersecurity risk management roles, responsibilities, and authorities to foster accountability and continuous improvement. It is actually a mandate for all REs and it is an ongoing review frequency. Developing and implementing a comprehensive cybersecurity and cyber resilience policy with the approval of the board, partners, proprietors, and it is also mandatory for all the REs and frequencies annual. Review of REs, systems managed by third-party service provider, entities mapped are MIIs and qualified REs and other REs. The frequency for MIIs and qualified REs is half yearly, for the other REs it is annual. All the REs are accountable for all the aspects related to third-party assessment using CIA. This mandate is mapped with the entity MIIs and qualified REs depending upon the review frequency. This point is submission of the capability cyber capability index self-assessment evidence for this mapped entities, MIIs, and qualified REs. The review frequency is within 15 days of CCI assessment. CSCRF mandates to prepare cyber risk management framework. It is mapped with the entities, MIIs, qualified REs, and mid-size REs. The frequency is half-yearly and annual depending upon the entity. For the protect and detect mandates, user access privilege rights review. So the entities are mapped and the frequency is considering the entities. MIIs and qualified REs is quarterly, and for the other IREs, it is half-yearly. CyberSecurity training program, it is an entity. For this, we have mapped for all REs, and the frequency is annual. Ensuring functional efficacy of SOC, third-party managed SOC or market SOC services. The entities mapped are MIIs and qualified REs. The review frequency of this mandate is half-yearly, and for the other REs, it is annual. Red teaming exercise, it is mapped with the entities, MIIs and qualified REs with a frequency of half-yearly. Threat hunting exercise, MIIs and qualified REs, that is a mandate for them, and the review frequency is quarterly. Moving on to the other cyber security functions, respond, recover, and evolve. The mandates around it is review of periodical and update of contingency plan, continuity of operations plan. So this is a mandate, and this is a mandate for MIIs and qualified REs with a frequency of half-yearly, and for mid-size and small-size REs, it is annual. Mandate cybersecurity scenario-based drill exercise for testing adequacy and effectiveness of recovery plan. Entities mapped are MIIs and qualified REs. The frequency is half-yearly. For the other REs, it is annual. The other point mandate is evaluation of cyber resilience posture. For the entities mid-size and small-size REs, it is annual. Now let's talk about how to prepare. So prepare for audit and certifications, ensuring readiness and maintaining documentation and evidence of compliance efforts. So first we need to evaluate the current cybersecurity posture of the organization. Conduct a gap analysis to identify areas where existing system falls short of new standards. Review current policies, processes to meet CSCRF requirements. Regular VAPT audits as per mandatory guidelines. Frequency and the preparedness we have already talked about in the previous slides. Conducting red teaming exercises for specific categories of REs. Adopting cyber resilience goals and develop strategies to preemptively prepare for, respond to, and recover from the cyber attacks. Most importantly, establishing cyber risk management framework, including risk assessment, mitigation strategies, and regular reviews. Maintaining and developing a timely record of all cybersecurity activities and incidents. Regular training sessions to keep staff updated on the latest threats and mitigation techniques. So considering these scenarios, all the audits, ISMS audit, VAPT audits, and the cyber audits, they have been a mandate for under the CSCRF framework. This is the annexures list, and this CSCRF circular includes a detailed set of annexures designed to provide further guidance on various aspects of cybersecurity and cyber resilience. These annexures are critical for understanding the framework's full scope and ensuring that organizations can comply effectively. So we have mentioned the annexures with the details, and we have covered few of the annexures to discuss about in this webinar. Next day, audit guidelines. VAPT and cybersecurity auditors must be certified and paneled. Auditor must preferably have a minimum 3 years of experience in IT audit of banking and financial services, preferably in the securities market. It is recommended that resources employed shall have relevant industry recognized certifications, example CISA, CSEM, GSNA, CISSP from International Information Systems Security Certifications, IS2. The auditors must compulsorily use only licensed tools and must have the experience of VAVT. The auditor may not have any cases pending against his previous auditees which fall under SEBI's jurisdiction, which point to its incompetence and or unsuitability to perform the audit task. The auditor shall have ISMS, IT audit governance frameworks, and processes conforming to leading industry practices like COVID. So these guidelines here, we as CyberSRC, we actually comply with all these guidelines as we have talked about the introduction of CyberSRC. Annex E, cyber resilience testing, scenario-based. So scenario-based cyber resilience testing is a method that is used to evaluate an organization's ability to withstand and recover from cyber attacks by simulating real-world attack scenarios. All the organizations needs to develop the resilience testing considering the scenarios, define the objectives associated to these scenarios, prepare the environment for testing these scenarios, creating the simulation environments for the test, analyzing the impact, and ensuring that these scenarios that are prepared in the DRP's documents, they are effectively implemented, and we have a proper test cases planned against if the real attack happens, our team is ready to respond to the cyber attack or incident. Talk about the application authentication that is covering under Annexure G. Application offered by REs to customers containing sensitive, private or critical data such as IBTs, SWSTs, back office, etc. over the internet should be password protected with complexity enforced. REs should attempt to educate customers of the best practices. Password security pins should never be stored in plain text and should be one-way hashed using strong cryptographic hash functions. Multi-factor authentications schemes to be used, considering hardware or software cryptographic tokens, VPNs, biometric devices, PKIs, etc. In case of IBTs and SWSTs, a minimum of 2 factors in the authentication flow are mandatory. After a reasonable number of failed login attempts into applications, the customer's account can be set to a locked state where further logins are not possible until a password and authentication reset is performed by an out of bound channel validations. Both successful and failed login attempts against a customer's account may be logged for a reasonable period of time. It is recommended that measures such as captures or rate limiting be used in applications to thwart manual and automated brute force and enumeration attacks against logins. All these scenarios are covered under the application authentication in detail in Annexure G. For Annexure S, we are covering the customer-facing app security, customer-facing application, how the data security points could be considered. Considering the mass portions of the sensitive data, analyze data and database holistically and create separate zones for critical data, not merged with the public-facing system. And implementing strict data access controls, use the encryption algorithms where required, full disk encryption for protecting sensitive data at rest, ensure that all critical and sensitive data is adequately backed up and that backup locations are adequately secure. Restoration tests must be conducted periodically to ensure effective disaster recovery plan. We have talked about disaster recovery plan in our previous slides. So restoration testing is a main key aspect for ensuring that disaster recovery plan is up to date and ensuring its effectiveness. For Annexure K, we are covering CCI, Cyber Capability Index. It is a framework to rate the preparedness and resilience of the cybersecurity framework of the market infrastructure institutions and qualified REs. The calculation methodology is that it is calculated on the basis of 23 parameters. These parameters have been given different weightages. Implementation evidence to be submitted to SEBI only on demand. All implementation evidences shall be verified by the auditor for conducting third-party assessments of the MIIs. So I have here mentioned the So I have here mentioned the format, like how the CCI is calculated. So considering an example over here, for example, if we want to measure the weightage, or if we want to ensure that the cybersecurity budget is approved in an organization. So the objective is to ensure the latest technologies and trends are being used, considering the total annual budget of the information technology. So objective, considering the objective, we will measure that how the budget is approved, what all parameters have been considered in that annual security plan, and we will ensure the formula to calculate that the total budget, total IT technology budget, ensures that the some amount of the budget is being kept for the annual operating security solutions and technologies. The target is, for example, is 100% for that organization, but weightage is 10% as per the CSCRF framework. So considering that formula, we as an auditor will ensure that these implementation evidences, the mailers and the annual operating plans are available and the solutions are well implemented in the organization considering the budget approval and all the criteria. So implementation evidences must be a major criteria to ensure that this CCI index is actually 100% compliant. And accordingly, the auditor will provide the remarks. Most importantly, in the Annex N, functional efficacy of the SOC. SEBI has formulated a quantifiable method with 5 broad domains to gauge the functional efficacy of SOC. REs are required to calculate the scores in all 5 areas. Domain, we are covering the coverage of the assets. Metric is like network devices, security solutions, endpoints, applications, databases, and servers. So for example, in this domain, the metric is network devices. For the network devices, we will go in detail what kind of network devices are there and how they are ensuring their aspect like security and promoting that access controls, restrictions are being properly managed under network devices. Similarly, for the other security solutions and endpoints. It is just 25 for this, but the score is being calculated considering the implications and implementation of those security controls that are ensured against the metrics like network devices, security solutions, endpoints, applications, databases, and servers. So normalized score would come around B into A by 100. For example, score is like 100% effectively it's been implemented. The weightage is 25%. So score is calculated based on that. SOC operations domain is covered, ensuring that log ingestion into SIM, latency log ingestion, SOC technology, version control, vulnerability closure, SIM use cases, false positive or negative, threat intel, handling critical systems. So all these metrics must be covered under the SOC operations. SOC person competency to assess the skill level of security professionals, like who are actually working under SOC team. They have their competency to deliver the metrics and combination of appropriate industry level certifications and years of experience. SOC governance, ensuring that the budget for SOC, training SOC reviews, recommendations of technology committee being submitted to governing board of regulated entities. SOC enrichments and enhancements. Dashboard and analytics, threat hunting, automation technologies implemented. So all these are the enhancements that must be covered under the SOC efficacy. So here are some CyberSRC offerings and capabilities where we can help you resolving the complex scenarios mentioned under the CSCRF in a simpler way, considering the consultancy, audit part, and advisory. We are offering on-demand strategy and services, security awareness and training, security assessments and testing, network security assessment and review, system audits and assurance, cloud security assessment and review, incident management advisory, privacy and compliance expertise, customized security solutions, and CISO offering. So how CyberSRC can help? We have mentioned the services we are offering, We are looking for the clienteles who are actually applicable to this CSCRF, and we can ensure that we are, with our offerings, we are ensuring that we are delivering the best out of it, considering the audits and insurance part. This is our team. We are a team of qualified professionals with rich experience of multiple industries, and we have consultants that are holding CISA, CIPM, CISSP, COVID, CSCCNA, OSSP, and the other renowned certifications. And we have the end-to-end capability for program build operations and transformations. These are our customers. We are trusted by these companies around the world. Thank you. I would love to entertain the questions from the audiences.